Kids, when did you realize your parents might be terminally stupid? When my father went on Facebook and explained all about how the earth is flat. My grandfather actually told him to change his name since dad is named after granddad. I love your grandfather. I wish that grandfather was my grandfather. Then I'd have two grandfathers. My dad once told me he had pancreatic cancer. I asked what stage? He said stage 3. I was devastated. Later on during the day, I asked my brother, he lives with him, dude, why didn't you tell me he had cancer? My brother had the most confusing look and said he doesn't have cancer. He's been on this diet he saw on TV that consists of rice and vegetables. He's been eating like 1,000 calories a day for the past few weeks. He Googled his symptoms on WebMD and thinks he has cancer. Yeah, my dad is an idiot. Terminal idiot. My dad texted me recently to let me know that this is the only year where your age plus the year you were born equals the current year. I told him I had a lot going on right now and didn't have time to research nursing homes. I was at dinner with my parents when my mom started feeling really unwell. We took her to the emergency room for chest pains and she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The physician was asking my mom her family medical history and if anyone had diabetes in her family. My dad, a little drunk, asks if his family history would affect her. They're obviously not blood related. The physician just looked at him for a few seconds and then said no. Gotta be honest, Reed, that kinda worried I have type 2 now, and I'm not related. When my mom heard that drinking a glass of red wine a day is good for you, she poured my dad a full pint glass of red wine, and he downed it. When I asked them what made them think that was an appropriate amount, they replied that's how much alcohol people drink in the movies. Shower thought, if people portray healthy habits in movies, people would inherently follow those habits. Pint of wine, hot shower. What's not to like? Or shower wine. One night my dad went to the McDonald's drive-thru and spent a solid 3-ish minutes talking to the trash can and getting angry it wasn't responding. I think your dad might be baked. My mom wanted to drive to the new Google office building to complain about her Yahoo email account. I barely managed to convince her that they are different companies. Edit, thanks for the upvotes, comment Silver. My mom is very smart but lacks common sense. I spend most of my time trying to convince her not to do stupid things. Perhaps I should just let her do it, and film it. If I couldn't convince my mom of this in less than 30 seconds, I'd let her go. Yeah, sounds like a funny adventure to go on TBH. A Google Drive. My mom decided that she was going to move to teach in Saudi Arabia. She's a single woman. She recently ended a lesbian relationship. One of several lesbian relationships. Lesbian relationships that she has posted about on Facebook, where literally everyone can see it. It took multiple family members to convince her that this was not a good idea. Edit, to address a recurring theme in the comments, that as long as she didn't bring it up she'd be fine, because people don't care about foreigners past there or something. This would not be the first Muslim country she moved to teach in. And the last one she'd gone to she tried to start a lesbian relationship in. One of the other places she was considering moving was a small town in Alaska with less than 500 people in it. This is a woman who has previously broken her leg from walking on a flat surface, and this town was a 2-hour flight away from the nearest hospital. And another time she almost got involved in a pyramid scheme because she was convinced that it wasn't a pyramid scheme because those are illegal and therefore don't exist. Both of the above also took multiple family members to talk her out of. It took multiple family members to convince her that this was not a good idea. Oh, thank God. I read that first sentence and thought she went anyway. My parents made me take piano lessons since I was 9. When I told them I wanted to be a professional pianist, they were ashamed. I really hope you're a professional pianist. My mom asked whether World War I or II came first. My mom got a large inheritance, used it to remodel her house she hadn't paid off, then took a line of credit out on it months after the housing crash. This is the single stupidest thing I have ever seen someone do with so much planning involved. It took months for this dumb plan to happen and I tried to dissuade her every step of the way. It's one thing to put a fork in an electrical socket, and a totally different thing to hire a carpenter to build a house, hire an electrician to wire it, go to Target to buy a fork, then put it in the socket. The thing with not so smart people who think they're smart, is that it's nearly impossible to get them to listen to reason. Especially if they have a plan. Stick to the plan, Arthur. My dad ate baby shower favors made of soap that he thought was molded chocolate. Twice. Edit, holy shit, I was not at all expecting this to blow up the way it did, thanks for the gold. I also thought you might find it interesting that my dad would be considered a very smart man by most people. He has 3 college degrees and is a forensic scientist. Every time I text my mom and she gets confused over a simple 2-sentence statement. For example, I went to the store because I wanted chocolate. Her, oh, you should go to the store and get some. What, mom? Edit, yeah, I goofed hard and only wrote 1 sentence. Edit 2, holy shit, my most upvoted comment is of my mom being a ditz sometimes. For some reason this just triggered me on something my friend's mother does that drives me absolutely up the wall. She doesn't understand the concept of consolidating thoughts, and she has a really annoying way of speaking where she drags out the last 2 syllables of a phrase longer than normal. So if you were to be trapped in a conversation with her, you'd hear something like, yesterday we bought apples at the store, and we bought bananas at the store, and we bought oatmeal at the store, and we bought milk at the store, and we bought jelly at the store, and we bought bread at the store. Jesus H, lady. I don't want to hear this conversation at all, but just tell me the 6 things you bought and shut up. Hashtag X200B, edit, hey. I was gifted silver. Thank you, oh generous giver of cool things. I'm trying to figure out how to personally thank you. Oh god, my roommate does this. I call him Ross Geller, because it's like he's trying to be vapid and obnoxious. Every single conversation is a game of 20 questions, in which I have to ask a specific thing in any number of ways to get a single piece of pertinent information among a tidal wave of mind-numbing bullshit. Oh my god, I trained someone at work like this. It was a ducking nightmare. I was training him for a web dev job, but he trained himself in web dev languages and he seemed to have zero concept of how computer interfaces work at all. Like I would tell him to Google something and he'd say, so do I open Internet Explorer first? The other thing is he would take everything super literally to the point where if you weren't specific enough he wouldn't get it. If I was teaching him to make a PBJ sandwich and I didn't specifically say, pick up the knife, he'd use his goddamn fingers to spread that peanut butter. Zero common sense. I had to make him start repeating things back to me to make sure he understood what I was saying, and even that didn't help. The things this kid came up with were astronomically mind-blowing, like how could you possibly think that's what I meant? He was super nice though. Which just made it that much more frustrating for me because then I'd feel like a dick for getting annoyed about having to repeat myself a fucking gazillion times. My mother left an abusive man who beat the shit out of us for around a decade. She promised that nightmare was over and we would never see him again. She started dating a guy almost immediately who was exactly like him but also tried to duck my sister while she was going to bed. They're engaged now. Edit, mom's engaged. Not my sister. In high school, grades were posted online. Dad wanted to check how poorly I was doing. I told him the internet is closed because it was after 5 p.m. Should have inspect elemented, screenshotted, then showed that after the internet closes. Every time I watch a movie with my mom and she says, "Who's that?" Or "What's going on?" Mom. I'm watching the movie with you. I haven't seen it either. Does she also spend so long asking questions nobody knows the answer to yet that she misses more of the movie and has to ask more questions? My mom does and it drives me crazy. My mom drove to my apartment because the radio in her car wasn't working. She was sure there was something wrong with her Sirius. I pushed the volume knob, which doubles as a power button, and turned the thing on. There was nothing wrong at it, it was simply off. Maybe she just wanted to see you. This is subconsciously really depressing and makes me wish I spent more time with my mom when I was a kid. Dad introduces me to someone I've never met. Dad, do you recognize this person? Me, 24 years old, no. Dad, but, she held you when you were a baby. Oh God, my dad's family does this shit all the time. Don't you remember them? You went over their house once when you were 3. I'm 35 now. Of course I don't ducking remember.